He says, habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. I repeat that. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. The same way that money multiplies through compound interest, the effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them. He is blessed who is assured that the animal is dying out in him every day by day, and the divine being is established. He is blessed who is assured that the animal is dying out in him every day by day, and the divine being is established. So with that being said, you need to always find which habits and which part of you need to kill. Hi guys, and welcome back to yet another YouTube video, and welcome back to yet another one. And if you are new here, please welcome to the channel. So when it comes to changing our lives, there's one thing that you can decide on, and that will be your habits. If you want to be a great individual in the society, and even for your future kids and anybody, you need to decide on what habits to keep and what habits to develop and what habits to drop. You should always know yourself more than anybody else. I know at times we say we know ourselves when we don't even know ourselves, but it's so important to understand your habits. Who are you? Because your habits really determine your future, and they determine your life, and they rule your life. So if you have the great habits, you are guaranteed to be a great individual. That's the truth. That is the truth. So your habits, they need to be so important, and they need to be so good, and they need to be so right for you in order to continue in life. And this book right here, Atomic Habits, is that book that you need if you want to develop great habits. Really, it is that book that you just have to read in order to develop great habits. And shout out to James Clear, because he did such a great job. I read a book, The Power of Habit, and The Power of Habit, it is not a book, in my opinion, that is so practical as this book is. It is more a book that is psychological. It's so teaching about habits, why they are important, why they exist, why we should know about them. It is more that. But this is a book that really will let you know how to develop great habits and how to drop bad habits. And we all know habits do determine future. And as the great Matthias Alexander said, people do not decide on their futures. They decide on their habits, and their habits decide their futures. People do not decide on their futures. They decide on their habits, and their habits decide their futures. And I have to agree. I have to really agree. There is nothing in this world that is going to change your life other than having great habits. So what it means is you need to decide on which habits you need to have and which habits you need to drop. And if you decided that, then you have decided really your future. If you decide on investing, then you've developed a habit of investing consistently. You do this for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Soon you are going to be a millionaire. You decide to say saving money. That's a great habit. Have that. You decide making your bed every day. That's a great habit. Have that. You decide on taking care of yourself every day, meditating every day, reading every day. Those are habits that are going to change your life. So have those. Now understand which habits are important to have and which habits are not good to have. That is so important. Habits do determine your future, and you should always find ways to improve. And as the great, amazing Henry David Thoreau said, he is blessed who is assured that the animal is dying out in him every day by day, and the divine being is established. He is blessed, who is assured that the animal is dying out in him every day by day, and the divine being is established. So, with that being said, you need to always find which habits and which part of you need to kill that possesses the wrong habits, because we all know there is always that thing in our heads that tell us, oh, pick up the phone, that just make us sit on our phones for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, because we get some dopamine from the phones. And I love how James Clear talks about dopamine in this book too, and I would like to find that page and talk about it. Is this the one? It has to be. What page is that? Where he talks about habits are dopamine. Yeah, this one. He says, let's first talk about the remarkable 1% every day. He says, habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. I repeat that. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. The same way that money multiplies through compound interest, the effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them. You heard that right. They seem to make little difference on any given day, and yet they deliver over the months and years can be enormous. You heard that right. It is only when looking back 2, 5, or perhaps 10 years later that the value of good habits and the cost of bad ones becomes strikingly apparent. Meaning, you may not see the significant change that you want to see with your new habit or your bad habit until time has gone by. And as the compound interest starts, it starts off very slow. But when it starts to climb, it climbs and 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 it shoots to the moon. And when it shoots to the moon, you don't want to fall down. You want to stay up there. So that's the same as it applies to habits. You may start a habit, which is a bad one. Let's say you start smoking. You start smoking slow. You take 1, and then you take 2, and then you take 3. Soon you take 4, and then you continue. More money is spent on cigarettes. Soon it shoots to the moon, and now you find it hard to break this habit. And if it happens to break the habit, it's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of work to break that habit. But habits are so fundamental. Always try to better yourself every day. I love this image, this right here. I don't know if you can see it, but that image of the compound interest, because they are the compound interest of the self-development. Because as a person who is working with the compounding, it is so important to understand that this thing may go slow now, but it will shoot to the moon in the near future. So understand that your habits, they may start off slow. You may start smoking 1 cigarette today. You smoke 1 cigarette tomorrow. And the next time you start buying your own packet, and the next time you buy 4, the next time you spend more money. And as he says, James, he says, it's only when looking back 2, 5, or perhaps 10 years later that the value of good habits and the cost of bad ones becomes strikingly apparent. It is when you look back. Meaning, you should develop good habits now so you don't have to look back and start regretting the bad habits that you had. You know what I mean? You want to look back and say, shit, I really had good habits. I'm so knowledgeable. I'm so wise because I developed a habit of reading. That is wisdom then. That you understand that the things that you used to do were of impact and were fundamental for your own growth. And the power of the compounding, it is just crazy. Because something may seem like it's not going forward, but as you continue doing it, it compounds and it shoots to the moon. And then you go crazy because this is going to affect your economy. It's going to affect your lifestyle, and habits will kill your future. And that is the ultimate truth. And let's talk about the dopamine spike, because I love dopamine. He says, habits are a dopamine-driven feedback loop. Every behavior that is highly habit-forming, taking drugs, eating junk, playing video games, browsing social media, is associated with high levels of dopamine. The same can be said for our most basic habitual behaviors, like eating food, drinking water, having sex, and interacting socially. For years, scientists assumed dopamine was all about pleasure, but now we know it plays a central role in many neurological processes, including motivation, learning and memory, punishment and aversion, and voluntary movement. So, when it comes to habits, the key takeaway is this: dopamine is released not only when you experience pleasure, but also when you anticipate it. Gambling addicts have a dopamine spike right before they place a bet, not after they win. Cocaine addicts get a surge of dopamine when they see the powder, not after they take it. Whenever you predict that an opportunity will be rewarding, your levels of dopamine spike in anticipation. And whenever dopamine rises, so does your motivation to act. So, if, let's say, you expect to get a cigarette, of course your anticipation rises and you feel the reward already before even taking it. So that's what you need to break. You need to break the cue system, because it's cue reward, it's cue craving reward. Whenever you break that, you are going to break your habits. So always find ways to break your habits. And this book, it is that book. I don't want to go through a lot of things because this video will be long as fuck. But this book, it is really so important. If you want to break your habits, please always strive to become a better version of yourself. That is the ultimate truth. Let me see you in my next video. The book is Atomic Habits by James Clear. Absolutely the best book that you can ever get. Very practical and very useful if you want to develop good habits and break your bad habits, like smoking, like not waking up every day, like procrastination. And I love that he has a chapter about procrastination in this book. So this book, pick it up and better your life. Atomic Habits by the great James Clear. Absolutely the best book. Let me see you in my next video, and take care.